you have done. So we're going to talk about that. But before we dive into that, would you just introduce yourself to the Be Inspired audience and just tell them a little bit about yourself?
Oh, absolutely. That should be easy to do, right? So again, I'm Alicia Gary, and I'm grateful to be on your show. It's amazing. Just there's so many different outlets that you have to communicate with people, which is right up my alley. I am the president of Inspired Conferences and director of the Complete Women's Fellowship, or TCWF, as we call it. And I'm just thrilled about being able to have a platform to encourage people. My organization, Inspired Conferences, is a virtual venue, so much like yourself, it's going across the airwaves. But as you know, it's a lot that goes into being able to connect with people when you can't see them.
Absolutely.
And I orchestrate, even though I am a speaker, I like to be in the backgrounds as well, and I love to see people doing what they do best and fulfilling their passion and pushing their messages of hope and inspiration and love and overcoming. And that's what I do on Inspired Conferences. They're kind of like sermons for me, if you will. I don't just throw together an event. And when I feel like something's really in my heart, much like a writer, as I do that as well,
yes,
it's time for a book. I put together these conferences, and God willing, I pull together from my resources. My speakers are everywhere from East Coast, West Coast, abroad, Cuba, and they interact. Somehow I managed to pull it off.
Wow.
And put together these virtual events that anyone, as long as you have access to a computer or a phone, you can access these events, and most of the time they're free.
Now, what are some of the topics that are talked about at these conferences?
Well, I guess if I was to talk about topics, first and foremost, First Ministry, 1ST, First Ministry is like my umbrella corp. And what that stands for is Family is the First Ministry. And so basically when I started, I had this in my heart, and it was just so many families I was seeing hurting. And when you're dealing with families, you're dealing with people relationships. So anything from marital issues, or even if you're not married, singleness, because we have parents that are not married. We have people, as I call them, my salts, or single and living triumphantly crew. They're doing it every day.
Yes.
And they don't have somebody that's doing it with them. It's them by themselves, or them and their children. And you have children, you have young adults, we have our tweens, and those that are starting college, and everybody is kind of going against this momentum at the same time, collectively experiencing the same things but in a different way. So we touch on anything from relationships to self-improvement, realistic things like domestic violence, abuse, communicating with your children. And usually when I'm doing an event, there's a collective theme, and we have about 4 that we've coined regularly. One being the Women's Empowerment Conference, which is a little self-explanatory. We talk about all sorts of things as us women indulge in and deal with. We have to Find the Fire, Tell a Retreat, which is more of a relationship piece. We also have the Power Couples Marriage Boot Camp, which focuses on marriage and marital related issues. And then and tools, not just issues, but tools to give people, even if they don't think they're having an issue, something to learn. And more importantly, what's coming up here in the next week or so, on the 24th, will be the Escaping the Hurt Box event, which deals with, especially this time of year, we're seeing so many people, either suicide, domestic violence, depression, where people are really just stuck in their own personal hurt boxes and they don't know how to get out. And so that's what we'll be tackling as a momentum for that particular event.
Yes, I'm excited about that particular event, and I already know it's going to be awesome. And I know there are going to be a lot of people calling in and participating. And I had a chance to look at the flyer, and there was some pretty dynamic speakers that are going to be there, talking about some awesome topics. Can you talk a little bit about some of the speakers that are going to be at that particular event?
Absolutely. Let me just tell you something about my village of speakers. Interesting note, and this is why communication is so important. All of these speakers that are on this event, with the exception of about 2 of them, I've been working with for about 3 or 4 years now. And I connected with each and every one of them socially, either through an event that I was at live and there was something put out there, and I connected with them when this whole idea of doing this virtual venue, as I like to coin it, came about. I was just like, how am I going to do this? I just moved to Arizona. I don't know anybody hardly out here yet. All of my network is East Coast or mostly in Maryland.
Right.
And I did do a stint in California for a little bit, but that's all the way West Coast. So what do I do? And I just kind of started using my gift of gab and putting things out there and my skill for writing.
Yes.
And when I put it out there, to my surprise, I was inundated with people replying, wanting to be a part of my first empowerment conference.
Wow.
And that conference, I had so many people. I thought I wasn't going to have enough. It wound up being hundreds of people that submitted, and I narrowed it down to 22. So that first conference was, if you could imagine,
it was massive.
Rooms.
Yes.
It was massive. It was 4 rooms, even though it was by phone. There were 4 rooms. It was from 10 to 2 Eastern time. Each speaker going back to back simultaneously, and it was supposed to be basically where the registrants could come in, look at what I call my digital workbook, and decide where they wanted to go based on what they were experiencing or what they thought they would benefit from, and go to those rooms. So these speakers all connected to me and gravitated to me, God willingly, through social media. So most of them I have never seen in person, but I have conversations with these people. They reach out to me. They ask my expertise. I help them with their events. And it's like I have literally known these people my entire life because they are such a support. And even though I took a break last year, I didn't do anything after we had our last little one.
Yes,
I decided it was time, and I put it out there, and they were so ready to go. I didn't even have to ask twice. They jumped right on it.
So would you ever consider doing, well, first of all, let me respond to the fact that, you know, this is a virtual event, because we live in an environment and in a society where, you know, people are on their social media, on their phone, on, you know, their tablets and laptops, so much so, and it's much easier to do something like that. People actually appreciate doing things like that because traveling is expensive. And, you know, and to get on a plane to go to some of the conferences, it costs so much, and then you don't have to worry about hotel, you know, but you get still all the same participation and resources. I think is awesome, you know.
Right.
But would you ever consider doing what they call a terrestrial conference, or do an on-site conference?
I call it a brick and mortar conference.
Brick and mortar.
Right. So actually, I do. When I first started, I was doing my typical thinking outside the box thing, and I tried to figure out how can I have momentum despite the fact of being new where I am, to start growing some roots and growing my base. And it just so happened for a few years, I was being trained and didn't even realize it. I was working virtually. I started working with Eddie Bauer, and then I moved to Verizon Business Solutions support. And I was doing everything. I never saw my bosses. I never saw my coworkers. Everything was chat support by phone on the computer. So I saw this model, and one day I was sitting there and I was like, I'm doing this every day, and people were like, still so amazed. They're like, is that a real job?
Right.
You get a real paycheck?
Right.
You know, is it just you a W-9 worker? And I'm like, no, I get a regular paycheck and direct deposited into my account.
Right.
So I just kind of used what I learned in one aspect, which I didn't think had anything to do with my purpose. And I just implemented it, and I love how you said easier. It is easier for people to access, but as you, I'm quite sure, know, it is very intricate, detail-oriented business to successfully communicate something across the masses and make it excellent, because people still want to feel like they're there.
Yes,
they don't want to just sit on the phone. Even with the radio, if I just feel like I'm just sitting there listening to you talk at me, I'm going to change it. So you still have to be a master at communicating and creating the atmosphere and creating the environment for people to come in. And that's why this particular conference, because of the sensitivity of the topic, I really narrowed down. I'm only going to have 8 speakers, or actually it's going to be 7. Unfortunately, one of our speakers is, actually not unfortunately, she got an awesome opportunity in Cuba. And so I am not about holding somebody against what God has purposed.
Yes, absolutely.
Me, Ms. Lorna Blake, and several of my other conferences. So God willing, she's going to be doing that. But we still have great speakers, Miss Cheryl Lacey Donovan, Andre Sweeney. He has a book that's going to be coming out. I believe, please don't get, if I did it wrong, please forgive me, but don't let the four wheels fool you. Awesome book. It's actually going to be launching live at his event in Michigan on the day of the conference. A new speaker, Miss Danya Zimmerman, who's actually there in Maryland. Awesome young lady, as well as Cynthia Mills and Paula McDade. And we have some veterans like Thomas Gagliano, who also has a book coming out, awesome title, Don't Put Crap in Your Kid's Diaper, and Daniel Emmett. So I'm so excited, and I just can't wait. I'm like a kid in a candy store.
I'm sure. And I know there's so much planning that goes into it. And when you finally see it manifest, it's like, wow. You know, you see all of the moving parts actually starting to come together. When I was looking at your bio, a sentence popped out at me. It said that you are a woman with a passion for God, people, and the restoration of families. And you branded yourself as an inspiration coach, noting that motivation is external, but inspiration comes from within. So I'm putting that out there because when we come back from the break, I want to talk to you a little bit more about that, because our topic today is the spirit of inspiration. And I thought that sentence captured what this particular show is about tonight. So when we come back from the break, we're going to talk to you a little bit more about that statement and what that means to you. All right, everybody, do not move. Come on back to the Be Inspired Radio Show. We want you to be a part of the experience on tonight, so don't move. Come back after the break.
So keep it real. You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Hello, everybody. TGIW. Welcome to the Be Inspired Radio Show, only on BeExposedRadio.com. I am your host, Miss Be Inspired. I'm so glad that you are joining us today. We have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful show laid out for you. Our guest today is Lisa Gary, president of Inspired Conferences. She has some other wonderful things that she has going on. She is a visionary, an author, inspiration coach, and empowerment enthusiast. I am like super excited. But you know what else? Her and I are friends. Forgot to add that. Good friends. Look, vacationing together, friends.
Yes.
You know, but I'm so blessed and fortunate to have friends of her caliber. Somebody that is just full of ambition and integrity and passion. And it means a lot to surround yourself with people who is like that, or who is of like mind. Her and I do have that in common. Like, we're definitely go-getters. You know, and I'm just like impressed with all that she has accomplished, and I'm so glad that she's on the show with us today. Before we get started back talking with Lisa, a few words from our sponsors. From Avoidance Awareness Prevention Techniques, Divas in Defense. They have a wonderful 2-hour basic self-defense class on October the 24th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And the location for that is 7210 Rutherford Road, Windsor Mill, Maryland. And if you want more information about the Divas in Defense and the events that they have and the classes that they offer, check them out at www.therocksolidfitness.com. Again, www.therocksolidfitness.com. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So this is definitely the time for you to go and check them out. October only, $25 for this particular session. So go ahead on to www.therocksolidfitness.com and check out Divas of Defense. Also, coming up at the end of this month, October the 23rd through the 24th, 2015, we have the Fall Women's Refreshing 2015 conference hosted by Refreshing Springs Outreach. Evangelist Jean Leak and Dr. Donna Saunders are the leaders. They have special guest evangelist Barbara Elsie of Chicago, Illinois, Reverend Cynthia Duggan, prophetess from Tampa Bay, Florida. And then we have also evangelist psalmist Vanessa Mitchell of Atlanta, Georgia. And that conference is Recover from Superwoman Burnout, Part 2. So you do not want to miss that. If you want to attend that event, the registration is $20, and you can go to www.rso today to find out more information about that conference and also to register. And also, last but not least, our wonderful sponsor, Lakeisha Pridgeon of Skin Tea Natural Organic Tea. Lose 5 pounds in 5 days. That's right, lose 5 pounds in 5 days. And for more information about Skin Tea Natural Organic Tea, go to the website at www.totalifechanges.com/3466851. So we've gotten that out of the way. I'm so grateful for the sponsors that we have to this show. But today we have, again, if you're just tuning in, we have Elisa. I know her as Lisa, but Elisa Gary. She is a visionary, an author, inspiration coach, and empowerment enthusiast, and the president of Inspired Conferences. I'm so excited to have her on the show. Say hi to everybody, Lisa.
Hello. Hi. Awesome. Oh my, that's a lot to live up to.
Hey, listen.
You did it that way.
I know, right? I gave you a good intro. Was that good? Was that good? Yes, but I am excited. Really, I am, to have you on the show. And like I said before, I'm impressed with all of the things that you have accomplished. And before we left on the break, I read a passage or a sentence from your bio that I thought fit perfectly into the topic for today's show, which is the spirit of inspiration. And it says that you are a woman with a passion for God, people, and the restoration of families. That right there speaks volumes. And that you have branded yourself as an inspiration coach, noting that motivation is external, but inspiration comes from within. So this is a 2-part question. And I'm also going to dive into some of the other questions that we talked about previously. But so talk about how you started out on the path of branding yourself as an inspiration coach. Like, how did you know that this was your calling?
Wow. One word: broken.
Wow.
Brokenness. Like I said, and when I wrote that, and I remember when I actually wrote that, I haven't read it completely in a while, but when I actually wrote that bio, and I was preparing for an event, And believe it or not, I'm a very transparent person, and I probably tell on myself way more than I should. But I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it when I wrote it. But that's what, as I was praying, and what should I be writing? How do I describe me? And that's what came out. And as time went by, God showed it to me. I felt very... I used to say the word all the time that I felt like a fraud. That people are always coming to me asking me about this, that. It doesn't matter. Practical things, impractical things, just whatever. It just seemed like I was always being asked about something by someone. And I was happy to help, but I always used to feel like, why are you asking me? Who am I? I don't do much. I just talk. And God started dealing with me about that. And in my brokenness, I had a lot that was going on in my family, my marriage with my children. And I had that line come about being motivated versus being inspired. And I decided that I didn't want anybody to have to keep motivating me.
Wow.
And that a lot of the people that I was helping, I was motivating them. And I was tired of motivating them because it was exhausting me. And I wanted to not be motivated because it doesn't last long. And I wanted to be inspired.
Wow.
Enthusiastic, if you will. Last Sunday, our pastor, Marcellus Dukes, talked about, he shared about being enthusiastic, or he broke that down with ethos, and that basically means God in me. And when you see people that are enthusiastic, they inspire you. When they are passionate, you become passionate. You're like, I don't even know why I want that lollipop, but I want it.
Right. You get excited about something, that you want.
That's what I needed.
Yes.
And we are to become the things that are needed in the world.
You know
we
what?
are to become the answer to the problem.
Wow.
And that's where the inspiration coach came from.
Yes.
I yearned to be enthusiastic. I did not want to stay broken. I did not want to be, just somber and someone constantly needing to pour into me. I wanted to pour back. And that's where the inspiration coach was birthed.
And you know what? I think it was profound what you said about, pouring into others, motivating others. A couple of weeks ago, it was about 2 weeks ago, I had did a segment, Finding Your Purpose, and whatever you do, don't stop. And one of the nuggets that I gave was you have to identify where you are in your life. Are you in a point in your life where you need to be giving yourself oxygen, or are you in a position or a time in your life or a season in your life where you need to be giving oxygen to others? And I use the analogy of how when you get on the plane and the flight attendant always says that before you give oxygen, if anything happens, before you give oxygen to anybody else, when the oxygen mask falls, give it to yourself first and then give it to the other person. If you're not okay, if you're quote unquote broken or hurt, it is hard for you to pour into anybody anyway. And most likely, and this is just my take on it, most likely, whatever you're giving to that person, it's not impossible to do, but it's when you're healed, you can give a different kind of help to somebody else. Or when you've given oxygen to yourself, you're built up. Then you have the strength to be able to carry. But when you're broken and then you're trying to carry everybody else's stuff, it's not going to work. And if anything, it's going to make you feel even worse, Yeah. So I thought that was profound, that, and then not just wanting to be motivated. Because I think you're right, though, Lisa. I do. I think you're right. Like, that does only last for a little bit.
Right.
It's like a temporary high,
But you know what? One of the things that is important to remember, and this is where I think where your gut checks come in, is that when you are inspiring, or sometimes you have to start with motivation.
Right.
But when you are inspiring other people, the fact of the matter really is, a lot of times you yourself are depleted.
Mm-hmm.
Not always, but a lot of times when that is your calling,
Mm-hmm.
you experience so much. And it's easy to be like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, it is. You're right.
Who's even listening? Who even cares
Mm-hmm.
what I have to say?
Yes.
And that's how I felt when this first started. When, in all actuality, when Inspire Conferences first started, I really didn't even come up with that name. I promise you. It started off with me wanting to understand more of the Bible, really. And I said, I believe this stuff, but I can't break it down the way I want to.
Mm-hmm.
And what was given to me was, do a Bible call. I don't know if you remember that from a few years ago, but I started doing this Bible call. And I was like, who's going to attend it? And for a long story short, I started doing it over the conference call.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost like God was testing me.
Mm-hmm.
Will you be faithful over this little thing?
Wow.
And what started happening was I would dial on, and as you know, with those calls, unless there's two people on the call, it doesn't activate.
Right.
So I started getting on the call, right? And nobody would call in. So I would say, okay, well, nobody's there, but I was here. I kept my end of the bargain.
Yes.
And then one day I was praying and God dealt with me and was like, okay, but you're still supposed to do it. Figure out how. And I'm like, what do you mean? And I felt so convicted.
Yes.
So what I started doing is I would call from my cell phone and mute it and call from my house phone.
Wow.
And I made a promise, and it taught me a very important lesson, that if I really wanted to get out of it, because I asked him for something, and he told me what to do, but I still have requirements. So if he told me to do this Bible study, regardless of who was or was not there,
Yes.
I needed to be there, and I needed to figure out how to make that call happen. So as stupid, as insignificant as I felt, doing this call, and you know how I am, promptness on time.
Yeah, I do.
That's the time I'm calling.
Yes.
I'm dialing in every week on
Yes.
Wednesday, ready to go. And I'm just enthusiastic, and I'm doing these calls. At some point, it started to build. I had following, but it took months.
Yeah.
And months, it was just...
Ooh, you ministering to me. Oh, my Lord.
Me that line in my
Wow.
and God. And after I look back on that time, I got so much strength.
Yes.
And the next thing I knew, this thought popped into my head, Inspire Conferences. And I was like, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
I looked it up. I was like, did I see it on the TV? Did I read it in a post? It didn't exist.
Wow.
And it just blossomed. And it has taken a lot to continue with it because I still get those feelings. Who cares?
Yes.
Who's listening? But it's just one person. I don't care if it's a man, a woman, a child. I don't care if it's even then. It could be 10 years from now and somebody come across some conference I did and I did it, regardless of how many people registered or didn't, and they're healed. I did what I was supposed to do,
Yes.
and that person's blood is not on my hands.
Wow, that means a lot. And it's just, I guess it's just moving past those temporary feelings of feeling like, who cares? I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be transparent. You know, even when I started doing this radio show, for me, you know, I asked, how many people were listening, and, and sometimes you can get discouraged by the numbers, but then I might get a text from somebody who says, awesome show, I needed to hear that. And for me, that is motivation enough. Even if it was 5 to 10 people on the call or on listening in, that person got something out of it. I had to push, but the key is I had to push past those feelings of disappointment or feeling like, oh, I'm insignificant. Wow, Lisa, and you know what? You are ministering to me. Seriously, like that is, but my thing is, I'm sure that people are listening who needed to hear that. I mean, people have all types of dreams. It may not be to be a public speaker or on the radio or doing conferences, but you might want to start up a cookbook, or I don't know. You don't know if people are gonna like your recipes. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. But you still gotta push beyond that feeling of, oh, people might not like it, people might not buy it, people might not want to see it, and you never know the impact impact that it will have if you stop at those feelings that you have. I'm inspired. I am. This is awesome, Lisa. I'm so grateful that you are here. And what's the theme of the show? The spirit of inspiration. That's what we're putting out there tonight. So we're going to take another break. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk to Lisa Gary again about the endeavors that she has coming up. There's so much I want to ask you. We got to have you come back, Lisa.
Absolutely.
Please, because it's so many questions. Like, I haven't even dug into the questions that that I sent you prior to the show that you took the time to fill out. I want to dig into it because so many people need to be inspired to move beyond what you see and what you feel and press into your purpose. Oh my God, this is awesome. But anyway, we're getting ready to take a break. So when we come back from the break, stay tuned. We're going to ask you a question. We're going to talk with Lisa. This is an awesome show, you guys. I'm excited. So let's go on our break.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com, the station with all the hits in the Talk Lately show weeknights at 7 p.m.
We are back, and you are listening to the Be Inspired Radio Show only on BeExposedRadio.com. I am your host, Miss Be Inspired, and if you want to participate in tonight's show, call us at 410-702-5657. Listen, if you have experienced a pivotal moment in your life where you were able to identify how you could inspire others, I want you to call into the show and tell us about that at 410-702-5657. We only have a few minutes left, but if you call us and tell us the moment you realized that you were an inspiration and what you were inspired to help others do. The theme for the show is the spirit of inspiration, and we're talking to Lisa Gary, president of Inspired Conferences. You can also text us at 443-642-9403 if you have any questions for Lisa with our last few minutes of this show. Call us again at 410-702-5657 or text us at 443-642-9403. So we've been talking to Lisa. She's been telling us about how she started, or how she realized that she was an inspiration coach, how she came to that realization, how she came up with Inspired Conferences, how she's had to overcome certain obstacles and feelings to push forward to realize her moment of inspiration, her destiny, her purpose. And I'm excited. Lisa, I also saw in your bio something else that stuck out to me. You were saying that, you said, I am inundated with helping others to bring their dreams, goals, and visions into fruition. Lord, hit the funny button. I'm tongue-tied. It's been that kind of day. But anyway, I also saw in your bio that you said suffering in silence avoids your testimony and inhibits personal breakthrough. Can you tell us what you mean by that? Because I thought that was like profound. And I know what it means to me, but what did it mean to you?
It's really easy to be going through, and when you're the one that others come to when they're hurting, it's a thin line between sharing. So whereas our relationship, if you will, pretty strong enough to be able to come and say, I'm hurting. But you have to be careful because what you give to others, they may not be mature enough. Forget not even spiritually, or not forget it, but not even spiritually, but emotionally. Mm-hmm. They may not be mature enough to feed you or to pour back into you. Mm-hmm. Or they may be tainted. So what can happen is one of two things when you suffer in silence. It could be voluntarily or involuntarily done. Mm-hmm. And so I would a lot of times be in situations where I just did not have outlet. I did not have resource to rebuild, to replenish. when I was depleted, or I was low, or I had my EI, if you will, was depleted, and when I did not have others, either because they would just take all the time and not be available, or when I would go to them and they didn't have anything of substance to give back, it made it hard. And then when you have those same people coming to you to still take, you have an option, and you have to make a decision quickly. Are you just no longer going to be the source for that person, or are you going to find the resource in order to complete yourself, to re-up yourself, if you will? But it was a trial and error. So for a long time, because I'm so loyal and I did not want others to sink deeper in where they were, I mean, I was going through horrendous things.
Wow.
And I wouldn't tell the other person, and I wouldn't even bother because they were speaking. And I couldn't even say at times I didn't have an opportunity, because sometimes you don't get an opportunity because people will just dump on you. But because I cared more about them releasing, I wouldn't say anything. And I had to learn how to balance that.
Yes.
That if I had a conglomerate of people that I was helping that I knew could not handle my burdens, I had to develop, connect, create an atmosphere of people that I could unburden to. Because of course we need God, period.
Yes.
But we also overcome by each other's testimony. And so if I didn't have someone I could call on when I was going through, I wasn't helping anybody else this way.
Yes.
Because I was already done.
Wow. We're gonna have to have you back. That's it. That's just the bottom line. Because we could go on and on about that particular subject. Because sometimes you could be afraid to tell your story, or
yes, very much so.
Because you don't know how it's going to be received or how people are going to handle it. But we're gonna, yes, we're just gonna have to have you back, Lisa, because this is profound, and I believe people need to hear your story, your perspective. I haven't even been able to talk to you about your book that you have out. You know what? Let's just talk. We're going to talk, and we're going to get you back on here, okay? Because I want you to be able to share, all of the great things that you have accomplished, and even talk about some of the obstacles and challenges that you've had to overcome. But, we're coming to the end of the show for tonight. I'm just so grateful to the Be Inspired listening audience. I'm grateful to the faithful ones that tune in every week and that send me text messages and tell me that they enjoy the show. That type of encouragement means a lot. I'm so grateful to our sponsors for tonight, Lakeisha Pridgeon of Skin Tea Natural Organic Tea. You can reach her reach Skin Tea Natural Organic Tea at www.totallifechanges.com/3466851. I'm so grateful for Refreshing Springs Outreach. You can check them out at www.rso.today. And also Divas of Defense at www.divasindefense.com. I'm grateful to our sponsors. I'm grateful to our listeners. And I'm so grateful to our guest for today, Alisa Gary. I want you guys to tune in next week. We have a wonderful show lined up for you, and we're going to have Alisa back. So everybody, we're going to be on social media posting some things about this show and next week's show. So thank you so much for listening.
And make sure you give them the information, because all of your listeners are free as well. If they go to inspiredconferences.org, they'll get a free access pass to the conference on October 24th, the Escaping the Hurt Box conference. So
yes, thank you.
This lady on flashback.